Hello again, Dan Alasso with Making History. I had a really good conversation this week with another faculty member at my university, Bemidji State in northern Minnesota, who came into my survey classes to advertise a comparative international economics course that she's going to be teaching in the spring and also in the summer. And this is going to be the entry class into a 4-week summer exchange program with a university in West Central China. She's an economist. And for a long time, actually, I've been wanting to do an economic history course that covered both the economic history of a region. The U.S. was my initial thought, but maybe we could expand it if we get ambitious to cover the world. And also the economic theories that developed over time and how their development is tied to changes in the economy of the place where the economists are developing new ideas, as well as new ideas from other fields and new philosophical movements, which tends to be the way that we normally think of changes in economic thought. She thought that it would be a cool way to collaborate. Since she's from China, we also talked about my curiosity regarding the different ways that world history is taught in different parts of the world at different times. I'd really like to get my hands on some history textbooks from other parts of the world and compare the ways that they tell the stories of world history. Also, what they highlight, what they don't focus on, what they fail to even cover. And if possible, how all of that has changed over time. My Chinese friend suggested that the way that China teaches history today may be quite different from the way that it was taught when she was in school in Nanjing, which was probably a couple of decades ago. The question, of course, is how to get my hands on history textbooks, especially survey textbooks, rather than monographs from around the world, and then how to read them if I do manage to get a bunch that are in foreign languages. If they're ebooks, of course, I imagine it will be a little bit easier to get them machine translated. That doesn't necessarily result in the best prose style, but it does make it possible usually to at least understand what's being said. I also did a bit of web and JSTOR research, and I started a new Zotero folder called World History Comparison. Research Rabbit found me a bunch of similar titles. Actually, it found me 2,200 under the similar titles tab. So it will take me a while to comb through those and decide what I want to look at. I did, however, ask some people and some groups, such as the OE Global community on Twitter, and I want also to extend the request to anyone who might be watching this video. I know that a number of my subscribers and viewers are, for example, in India. And I have noticed on Twitter and on Abhijit Chavda's channel that there seems to be quite a controversy still about the way that Indian history has been taught to Indian students. That interests me a lot. So if people have suggestions about that controversy in particular, I'd be interested in hearing it. But what I'm really particularly interested in is how world history surveys throughout the world cover world history. But if part of this also involves the debates over continuing or dropping the narratives that had been introduced by colonizers, such as the Aryan invasion myth in India, which was promulgated at the time when India was controlled by Great Britain, then that is also relevant to my question. There also seems to be what's called a global view of history that has influenced the way that world history is taught in China in recent decades. And I'm going to start trying to dig into this a bit as well. So if my viewers have any titles of world history textbooks that they could share, I would really appreciate it. Whether you think they did a good job or whether you think they're behind the times, I would still like to compare not only between regions of the world, but if possible, to look at change over time, because that, of course, is what we historians love to do. I also just joined MoodleNet, which is a public beta of an online community that Martin Duguiamas is building around his application Moodle. and that he mentioned a couple years ago at the OE Global Open Ed Conference in Milan in 2019. It's supposed to be a place, as he originally described it, where educators from around the world can upload and also download open educational resources. So I joined and I created an account and I linked my open textbook library pages for my American environmental history and my modern world history textbooks. I hope that they will build some community forum pages in MoodleNet as well, so that I can ask people in this worldwide open education community to suggest titles to me also. So that's a brief summary of what I've been working on the last couple of days. Anybody who might have a title, anybody who might remember the title of what book you used to study world history in the past, whether you're in the United States or especially if you're elsewhere, I would really, really appreciate it if you would, in the comments or in a separate message to me, let me know what that might be so that I can start to try to pull some of these things together and maybe make a project of comparing them. Thanks very much, and I hope people found this a little bit interesting. Thanks for listening. I will see you again